Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Rap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Rap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to another edition of Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining the show. This is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you. What is your problem? Do you need to make more money in your business? Do you want sales strategies and ideas? Do you have compliance issues? Do you have taxation issues? What do you need help with? That's the purpose of Biz Rap Radio. It's to help you run your small business even better than you're running it now. Or maybe you don't have a business yet. Maybe you're an entrepreneur. Perhaps you're thinking about starting a business. We have ideas, resources, and information that will help you get that new business launched. And I'm in studio today with a very interesting gentleman. His name is Gary Polk, and Gary is the executive director of the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. Gary, welcome to the show.
Hello, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on down here and joining me. It's, I do a lot of my interviews over the internet, via Skype. But I really like having people into the studio. I think it just gives a nicer dynamic when I can actually look across the table here and see who I'm talking to. Now, Gary, tell us, what exactly is the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center?
Well, Mike, first of all, thanks for having me here, and it's a great opportunity. The South Bay Entrepreneurial Center, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3 public benefit corporation. We were formed in 2011 by a group of civic and business leaders in Torrance in the South Bay. I recently joined the South Bay as the executive director in August of this year, and I'm happy to be aboard, and we're excited about our future.
It sounds really, really, really interesting. Now, I should also let people know a little bit about your background, because in addition to being the executive director of the Entrepreneurial Center, you're also a lecturer at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
I am. I've been a lecturer, adjunct professor of business manager at Cal State Dominguez Hills since 2001. I found back in 93 that my true passion is teaching. I love to teach. Because I'm an alumni of Cal State Dominguez Hills, I absolutely love Dominguez Hills. Our motto or our mantra as alumni is once a Toro, always a Toro. And I teach business management, I teach strategic management, management theory, organization behavior, ethical leadership, as well as entrepreneurship.
Wow, you got a plate full. Well, I have to think that somebody whose background is education, and particularly education in business management, would be the perfect candidate to be an executive director and to be involved with the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. But let's talk a little bit about the function of the center. Now, you describe the center as an incubator and as an accelerator. What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, we started as a business incubator, and the purpose was to assist startups and emerging growth companies. We wanted to provide education, resources, a physical facility or workspace, networking opportunities. But I think the main thing we do is mentoring, where we provide mentors for our clients. We consider them clients. And I think that's the key that kind of makes us different from other locations or similar centers. We are evolving from an incubator to become also an accelerator to help existing businesses that have been around a few years, maybe who want to take that next step. And so right now, today, we look at ourselves as a hybrid incubator/accelerator.
So I'm out there. I've got an idea for a business. Maybe I've got a business plan put together. Maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just at the conceptual stage, but I need help. I need to know what to do next. Your service could help me do that.
Absolutely. What we try to do is provide structure. We try to provide support. A lot of time businesses will have a great idea, but they don't know what to do with it or where to take it, and that's where we come in. There are a lot of business opportunities out there, and if you really understand capitalism, it's about business. I think the American dream, when you think of it on the business level, is owning your own business. And one thing we do know that major corporations usually are not very innovative because they're just too big. And most of your innovations today really comes from small business. Overnight delivery, for example, came from a small business started by a guy named Frederick Smith that became FedEx, and now it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Well, you and I are both champions of small business. I know I just am a firm believer that if we do not have a healthy small business climate in the United States, we don't have a healthy economy, and we will never achieve the growth and the prosperity that we need to achieve for citizens of America. So I encourage my students, I encourage my listeners, be entrepreneurs, run a business, and even if you're working for somebody else, you run a business on the side. I mean, most people have a hobby of some sort. Why not make your hobby into something that makes you money? Doesn't that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I tell my students that you want to find your passion, and you know it's your passion because you'll do it for free. And then the challenge becomes finding a way to make money pursuing your passion. And a lot of times, like you just said, a lot of small businesses started from a hobby. There was a commercial, I think, by AT&T or one of the big companies, talked about Americana and how small businesses started in garage. And maybe that sounds corny because Hewlett-Packard started in a garage back in the 1940s. But I was talking to a business owner yesterday that he started his business in the garage in 2009. So it's still going on.
There you go. So history repeats itself. If you've just joined us, it's Mike Manahan on Biz Rap Radio, and our guest in the studio today, Gary Polk of the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. We're talking about entrepreneurs and small businesses and how they can get help from the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. But now, Gary, if I've already got a small business, maybe I've got a small business, I've grown it up, we're doing, $500,000 a year in revenue, but we're kind of stuck. We'd like to go to the next level. Can you also help me out?
Well, yes, absolutely. And that's where the accelerator mentality comes from. And if you think of an accelerator as a metaphor, in your car, you want to go a little faster, you're changing lanes, you're going onto a freeway, coming onto from an on-ramp, and you have to push that accelerator to go a little faster to get past the next car. You can look at that next car as competition. And as an accelerator, it's a little bit different because these businesses have been in business. Maybe they've had some success. Maybe they've had some frustration, but they need to figure out how to take it to the next level. And that's where the accelerator mentality comes from. So oftentimes an accelerator scenario may last 3 months, may last 6 months, but it's in a very intensive time period where they're really kind of changing their paradigm or their mindset.
Now, who is this open to? Can anybody come and use your services? Are you restricted? Do people have to be in the South Bay? Do they have to be at a certain level or stage? I mean, how do you qualify the people that come to you and that you help?
Well, that's a good question. Our focus or our target market is the South Bay region of Los Angeles County. If someone came from outside, I'm sure we would help them, but we don't go out and seek them. Our main purpose is to help those businesses in the South Bay try to create and be innovative and try to show them how to create more jobs. One of the things we'd love to be able to do is help the local South Bay community improve by assisting businesses in creating more jobs. So I don't know if there's a qualification per se, but really it's a matter of contacting us and talking to us about what their goals are, what their plans are, and maybe even some of their frustrations, and then we can figure out a way to work with them and form a partnership. We are a nonprofit, but we do have scenarios where there is some type of fee for our services. But we also don't want to, if you don't have money, we don't want to take something that you don't have. So we work with the SBA. There's something called a Small Business Development Center, a SBDC. There's one in the South Bay. Is sponsored by El Camino College, but I think is actually located in Hawthorne, and they do a lot of services for free. So if you're really at that early stage, we might recommend that you work with them until you get to a certain point, and then you have some legs under you, and then we can step in and help you from that standpoint. And that's where our mentors come in. One of the things that make us special is our mentors.
Just very quickly, give us, before we go to commercial break, what's the website? Where can somebody go to get information?
Well, we are the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center, and our website is www.thesbec.org, and our email address is info@thesbec.org.
Fabulous. We are in studio with Gary Polk of the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center, Mike Manahan, BizRap Radio, and we will be back right after these messages. And it's BizRap Radio back again with Mike Manahan here in the studio, and I'm joined by Gary Polk of the South Bay Entrepreneur Center, and we are talking about the services that the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center offers to entrepreneurs and small businesses. But, Gary, in addition to the services that you offer to small businesses and entrepreneurs, I see that you have sponsors, and tell me about sponsors. What do the sponsors do? How do they get involved? And kind of what does it cost?
Okay, that's a good question. The sponsors, really what it does, it enables the SBEC to support entrepreneurs and small business development in the South Bay. We provide learning opportunities through the training programs that help our entrepreneurs be successful. We offer an environment that promotes synergy and a stellar array of professionals that are qualified experts who volunteer their time with the goal to help save countless hours. So it's really a collaboration, if you think about it. It's a collaboration between entrepreneurs and corporate partners, universities. One of our big partners is Cal State University, Dominguez Hills, and we're trying to do more and more, and that's kind of how I got involved. One of our founders is Michael Grimshaw, and he was a founder of the SBEC. He's a professor at Marymount College, and he's also a professor at Cal State University, Dominguez Hills, and he was just identified as our executive director of our Entrepreneur Institute at Cal State Dominguez Hills. So we talk about benefits for sponsors. Your logo is placed on our marketing materials with the SBEC website with links to the website. You're mentioned as a corporate sponsor at our events and our our workshops. A couple sponsors includes the City of Torrance. They were a big sponsor that helped us get it off the ground back 3 years ago. Fran Fulton is with their Economic Development Department. She's a key player. Southern California Gas, Empress Synergy. There's a law firm of Petalone, Haradi, and Lomas, and then a corporation called Convey. Those are just a sampling of our sponsors, and we're really pleased, but we're looking to grow our sponsor list, because as a small business, we really don't charge our clients enough or our members enough to make. And, of course, even as a small business, you have expenses. You have to, what they say, pay the bills.
Sure. So let's say I'm one of those Palos Verdes fat cats. I own one of those big multi-million-dollar homes up in Palos Verdes. I had a business. I ran it for 20 years. I sold it. I got $20 million sitting there in the bank doing nothing. How would I get involved with your organization?
Well, it depends on what you did as you made that money, but let's say you were in a particular business and learned marketing very well, or sales, or maybe human resource management, and we could bring you in as a mentor. The mentor is really one of the things that make the SBEC unique. We have a great core of mentors, and we're also always looking to improve and expand that group.
Okay, so this would give me the opportunity. I've made my money. Maybe I don't want to go and start over and do it again. I know some entrepreneurs do that. They're what they call serial entrepreneurs. They build a business, sell it, build a business, and sell it. But some people just run their business. It becomes a success. They sell it. And then they'd rather try and help other people do what they did. So this is a great opportunity for somebody who's made some money, who's been successful, to give back. And, rather than just writing a check to the government and having the government hand out money to its cronies. This way you can actually contribute to an organization that supports and helps entrepreneurs and small business, and you can actually meet these entrepreneurs, and you can actually counsel them, guide them, and give them probably the thing that they need most, which is your wisdom and your knowledge, so they can learn from the mistakes you've made in the past and gain from your experience. Does that kind of summarize it?
Oh, that's a great job. I kind of think of myself as a professor, a person who's fortunate to be able to be around young people, and they kind of keep me young. My students keep me young. It's exciting to see their enthusiasm and their ambition and their ideas. And what's really nice is when you see that light bulb comes on where they figure something out. And I think that for that person who's been around, and like you said, sometimes writing a check, there's nothing behind that. There's no real fulfillment or gratification. But by working with people, human beings, and seeing this, then I think that's really rewarding in itself. And one thing you'll find is that people who volunteer are kind of special kind of people. Not everyone wants to spend their time volunteering where maybe there's nothing in it for them. Mm-hmm. But certain people get to the point where maybe this is time to give back, because if someone wouldn't have helped me way back then, maybe I never would have been to the place I'm at today.
Right. And I think in some ways we've lost some of that in America. I think there was a time when almost everybody did something in the form of volunteer work. You helped with the poor people in the neighborhood. There was community projects, and we used to have volunteer fire departments, and people did something for their community other than just working and earning money. And now, as the government's grown and it's gotten larger and larger, there's almost gotten this kind of thing, well, I pay my taxes, so I don't need to be a participant any longer. But to me, it's not the same. If we don't have people participating in the communities in which they live, we will not have communities.
Oh, absolutely. And, a textbook is important. Someone has done some research and took the time to write that. But I think that students in the classroom, they also want the real life. They want to hear real life stories. I always challenge my students in every class I teach, think like an entrepreneur. Sometimes they have no idea what that means. I tell them, think like a business owner. So who better than a former business owner to help these students think like an entrepreneur? And it goes the same way with business owners or new business owners, because oftentimes you kind of look at them, they're students, and you become the teacher, you become the professor, and you're really just giving them real life experience. Because what you find is that you can read a textbook, you can memorize something, but it really doesn't do as good if you can take something out of a textbook and apply it to a real life scenario. And that's what the real life entrepreneurs who become mentors do for us.
Yeah, and what I really like about the organization is you've kind of got this partnership with sponsors, which are businesses, mentors, people with business experience, the entrepreneurs, small businesses. But in addition to that, you brought the university, so you brought education into that. And I think that's just such a well-rounded kind of structure that you've developed for this entrepreneurial center.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it a very exciting time over at Dominguez Hills, where we're trying to really develop the entrepreneurial spirit. On December 4th, we're going to have an entrepreneur symposium, and the theme of the symposium is The American Dream Starts Here. We're very excited. We're going to have some entrepreneurs come in the morning and talk about their respective businesses, and then in the afternoon, we're going to have some students come in with their business plans in front of professors and some businesses and pitch their plans. We're going to call it the Toro Tank. We're going to have some fun with it, but at the same time, I think some people are going to start finding out really what it takes to be an entrepreneur and to make some of these dreams come true.
Yeah, that sounds so exciting. By the way, if you just joined us, it's Biz Rap Radio. Your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks for being with us. We've got Gary Polk in the studio. He's the executive director of the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. Now, Gary, we're probably only have time for maybe one more question, but I know something every small business and entrepreneur is worried about and is trying to get, and that's money. Is there any resources at the Entrepreneurial Center to help small businesses and entrepreneurs find the capital their businesses need?
Well, to find the capital, absolutely. Again, we work with the SBDCs, and they are sponsored by the SBA. And if you're an existing business, they kind of cater to them. If you're an existing business, then the SBA is there. But they have another group that's called angel investors. And angel investors are a group that usually want a percent of interest as opposed to debt equity. And so they're looking for equity in the business, and we can connect them with those people. But at the same time, we try to tell our clients, be careful what to look for.
Sure. So you give them some guidance in that capital raising process.
Absolutely, because money is very important, but you have to realize that sometimes debt equity or debt financing is the best way, and sometimes equity financing is the best way, and we try to explain the difference in the two.
Okay, that's absolutely fabulous. This has been so interesting. Again, it's Gary Polk, Executive Director of the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. You can find them online, www.thesbec.org. Or what's the email address, Gary?
Again, it is info@thesbec.org or the SBEC, SBEC.org. If I can make just two final points. One thing we know is that entrepreneurship can be taught, and the other thing you should know that entrepreneurship is a team sport. So that's exactly what Michael just told you.
Well, that's fantastic. We'll leave it at that. It's BizRap Radio. Your host, Michael Manahan. Gary, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back right after these messages.
Thank you.
Welcome back to BizRap Radio. This is your host, Michael Manahan, and this is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. We're here to help you as entrepreneurs make more money, run your business more effectively, help you fight those crazy, ridiculous government regulations and rules that we all have to contend with, and maneuver your way through the bankers, the leasing companies, the landlords, the customers, and all those things that just cause you to have difficulties in running your business. We were talking in the last segment to Gary Polk. Gary is the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center Executive Director, and the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center is an incubator/accelerator for small businesses. It's in Old Town Torrance, and you can go to their website, thesbec.org. That's thesbec.org if you want to find out more about Gary Polk and the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center. I'm sure they'd love to have you learn more about their organization. One of the things that we really have to talk about on this show, and we haven't talked about it yet, is illegal immigration. Now, I know the minute you start talking about illegal immigration, you start to get into politics, and this show is not about politics. This show really is about small businesses. So why are we talking about illegal immigration? We're talking about it because it has significant ramifications for the small business person. I'm just looking at an article. Pulled this off of Yahoo. It's from the Daily Caller. A Texas catering business will pay the United States $26,000 for engaging in citizenship discrimination as part of a settlement with the Justice Department. Company's called Culinary International. It runs a few restaurants and a catering business down in Texas. Not only are they do they have a civil penalty of $20,000 some odd dollars, but they are going to have to receive training in anti-discrimination rules of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and they are going to have to create a $40,000 back pay fund for potential economic victims. Now, can you believe this? Now, wait till you hear what this company did. Okay, this company had an employee whose permanent resident card expired, and the company required the employee to get a new permanent resident card. And why is that a big problem? Well, because according to the Immigration and Nationality Act and INS and all of these people who run these crazy regulations, you can work if you've got an expired resident card. Yes, you don't have to have a valid current resident card. Even if it's expired, you still have a right to work here in the United States of America. And of course, every single small business, all the millions and millions of small businesses out there, of course, you should absolutely know that, right? Because the most important thing you've got to do when you get up in the morning is study the minutiae of rules and regulations published by the by the Immigration and Nationality Act. So let's talk about this a little bit, because there is a huge burden being put on the small businesses in America, and it is a burden relating to illegal immigrants. Now, whether you believe we should be getting rid of the illegal immigrants, we should be naturalizing them and making them citizens, is irrelevant to the question. The fact is that if you don't follow the rules, the very complex rules set down by the INS with respect to hiring people, you can be in big doo-doo. And then as an example, our Culinaire International that we just mentioned fined $20,000, had to put together a $40,000 back pay fund. And why? Because they had an employee who had an expired alien card, and well, if you got a piece of expired ID, it seems natural to me that hey, that thing's expired. It needs to be current. I mean, let's face it. If I'm driving around town with an expired driver's license, I don't think the police would say, "Oh, not a problem, Mr. Manahan, just keep on driving. Anybody with an expired driver's license can drive." No, I'd get a ticket. I might even have my car confiscated. Who knows what would happen? But no, if you have an expired alien card, you of course are perfectly eligible to work in the United States of America, and every single one of the 30 million small businesses out there should know that, of course. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. So let's talk about eligibility for employment in the United States. How does all that work? Well, most of you out there who run small businesses know. You have your employees complete a Form I-9. That is the official form issued by the United States government that provides eligibility for an employee, or proof of eligibility, I guess it would be, for a person to work in the United States of America. So it's real simple, right? All you do is you get the I-9 filled out, and as long as you got an I-9, you're good to go. Well, except this I-9 is just a little bit confusing. You can download the handbook on the internet, by the way, from the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service. It's called the M-274, the Handbook and Guidance to Completing Form I-9. It's only 70 pages long. That's right. Just study this 70-page booklet, and it will tell you exactly how you are supposed to complete an I-9 with your employee to determine that employee is eligible to work in the United States of America. By the way, you got to be very careful, because that form actually says you may not ask an employee to provide you a specific document with his or her Social Security number on it. To do so may constitute unlawful discrimination. So what do you do then when you're filling out an I-9? Well, when you're filling out an I-9, you ask the employee to provide you evidence that you are eligible to work in the United States. Now, what is that evidence? Well, that evidence could be, believe it or not, one of about 30 different documents. And this is so bizarre and crazy that I'm actually going to read you the list. I don't know if I'll get through it all, because I'm like gagging as I'm looking at it. But these are some of the documents that a prospective employee could provide to you to prove they're eligible to work in the United States. Number 1, U.S. passport. Number 2, U.S. passport card. Number 3, permanent resident card. Number 4, alien registration receipt card. Number 5, a foreign passport that contains a temporary I-551 stamp or temporary I-551 printed notation on a machine-readable immigrant visa. Number 6, employment authorization document that contains a photograph. Number 7, a passport from the Federated States of Micronesia or the Republic of the Marshall Islands with Form I-94 or Form I-94A, indicating immigration admission under the Compact of Free Association between the United States and the FSM or RM. Oh, my God. And I've lost count. I'm not even sure where we are. But how about this? A driver's license or ID card issued by a state. ID card issued by federal, state, or local government agencies or entities. A school ID card. A voter's registration card. A U.S. military card or draft record. Military dependents ID card. U.S. Coast Guard Merchant Mariner card. A Native American tribal document. A Canadian driver's license. Oh, yes, if you want to work in the United States, as long as you've got a Canadian driver's license, show it on up. A school record or report card. A clinic, doctor, or hospital record. Daycare or nursery school record. Certification of birth abroad issued by the Department of State. Form FS-545. Certification of report of birth issued by the Department of State, Form DS-1350. Original or certified copy of birth certificate issued by a state, county, municipal authority, or territory of the United States bearing an official seal. A U.S. citizen ID card, Form I-97. Identification card for use of resident citizens in the United States, Form I-179. Can you believe it? So somebody completes the I-9. It can provide you any one of those 30 documents, and you've got to figure out whether those documents are valid or not. It's BizRap Radio. Your host, Michael Manahan. We're talking about the foolish, ridiculous rules that you have to complete in order to find out if somebody's eligible to work for you in this country, and we'll be right back after these words. And we're back with Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining us. If you just joined in, earlier in the show, we had Gary Polk on. Gary is the executive director of the South Bay Entrepreneurial Center, which is an incubator accelerator for entrepreneurs and small businesses. You can find out more at thesbec.org or thesbec.org. And in our last segment, we were talking about this company down in Texas, a little catering company that runs a few restaurants, and the company was fined $26,000 by the United States government for engaging in citizenship discrimination. And why were they investigated? Well, they had an employee who had an expired alien registration card, and they suggested the employee really needed to update that and get one that wasn't expired. And guess what? That's discrimination. Now, the police can harass you and give you a ticket if you have an expired driver's license, but if you're an employee, you're expected to know that the government allows everybody with expired alien cards to continue working in the United States of America. Of course, we all knew that, didn't we? We're then talking about the I-9 process. Now, as small business people, entrepreneurs, you should be knowing that in order for somebody to work for you, the government requires you to complete a Form I-9. Pretty simple. Complete a Form I-9. Voila. You know the person is eligible to work in the United States. Well, not exactly, because an employee can provide you one of over 30 different documents. You can't ask for any specific document. You just got to rely on whatever the employee gives you. These 30 different documents, you are expected to examine them, review them to the best of your ability, determine that they are in fact accurate and valid, and then you sign the I-9 form as an employer, attesting under penalty of perjury that the documents are valid and that the employee appears to be eligible to work in the United States. So what's this? The INS has turned every small businessman into an agent? I got to be like an FBI agent to figure out whether or not somebody can work for me? I mean, how ridiculous is this? And yeah, you say, well, okay, it's just a form and nothing really comes of it. Yes, stuff does come of it. Look at this company down in Texas, $26,000 fine. They got to put together a $40,000 back pay fund for potential economic victims. I mean, here you are. Businesses are being accused left and right and center of hiring illegal immigrants Right? Isn't that what they always say? Oh, businesses want cheap labor. That's why businesses, don't want to do anything about illegal immigrants. Okay, well, here's a business. It's trying to make sure the people who are working for it are, in fact, eligible to work for it. They have an expired alien card. And they say, gee, hey, Jose, that expired alien card, you really should get that fixed. And guess what? The government slaps them with a $26,000 fine. Oh, my God. Where are we going to in this country? How can we encourage small businesses and entrepreneurs to expand their business, to hire more employees, when this is what you have to go through? Now, I've listened to a lot of people on the radio and articles and what have you about this whole issue of hiring employees. They say, well, you can use this system called E-Verify. The U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service has a program called E-Verify. And if you go to the government's website, this is what it says. E-Verify is an internet-based system that allows businesses to determine the eligibility of their employees to work in the United States. E-Verify is fast, free, and easy to use, and it's the best way employers can ensure a legal workforce. Great. I mean, this sounds wonderful. Forget all the I-9s and looking at 30-plus different documents, being an FBI document specialist. You don't need to do all of that. All you need to do is get the Social Security number, and just like running a credit card, if the Social Security number is good, your employee is legal, and you don't have a worry. Except it's not quite that simple. What do you mean it's not that simple, Mike? Yeah, that's not actually how E-Verify works. First of all, if you use E-Verify, you still have to complete the I-9 process, which could involve you examining any one of 30 different documents and attesting under penalty of law as to their appearance and validity. Okay, so E-Verify doesn't keep you from having to complete the I-9 and look at all of these different documents a potential employee could come up with. By the way, you can be fined for completing the I-9 incorrectly, even if the employee is perfectly eligible to work in the United States. Okay, so you've got that staff member of yours. You're a busy entrepreneur. You've assigned this Sally who works in your accounting department to do these I-9s. Let's say she makes a mistake and fills them out incorrectly. And you hire somebody who is perfectly eligible to work in the United States of America. They're citizens, perhaps. They've got a green card, a work permit. Yet you made a mistake on the I-9. You can still be fined, and by the way, will be fined by the INS if they come in and audit you. So let's talk more about this crazy E-Verify system. Well, here's the problem. You are not allowed to use E-Verify until after you have already hired the employee. Yeah, that's right. You cannot use E-Verify to find out if a prospective employee is eligible to work in the United States. You must first hire the person, get them on the payroll, then you can ask them for their Social Security number, and at that point, you can use E-Verify. Now, by then, you're just keeping your fingers crossed. By the way, if you're just tuning in, it's BizRap Radio. Your host, Michael Manahan. This is the show all about small business and entrepreneurs, and we're talking about the crazy I-9 documents and E-Verify, some of the hoops that the government makes employers go through in order to hire people in this country. We were talking about this Texas catering business fined $26,000 by the United States of America because they wanted an employee who had an expired alien registration card to get a current card. Well, next time I get pulled over by one of those L.A. cops here, I'm just going to tell them, hey, I don't care, I got an expired driver's license, but according to the INS, I just keep on driving. No, that's not how it works. Expired driver's license, you're going to get a ticket, maybe your car impounded. But not a problem, get an expired alien card, just keep on working. And, of course, all the 30 million businesses in America are supposed to know that. Right? Well, okay, let's go back to this E-Verify. So let's say you hire the employee because you can't use E-Verify until you've hired the employee. You hire the employee, you run the Social Security number through E-Verify, and E-Verify rejects it. It says, no, that's not a valid Social Security number. So what do? You just turn around and terminate the employee? Oh, no, 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 no. If you use the information you receive from E-Verify to terminate the employee, you could be subject to discrimination and fined or sued by the federal government. Yes, that's right. Can you believe it? If the employee does not pass the E-Verify check and you terminate their employment thinking they're not eligible to work in this country, you could be fined by the U.S. government and charged with discrimination. So this E-Verify thing is a complete myth because you've already had to hire the person before you run the E-Verify. If you then find out that the person does not pass, you cannot terminate them. I mean, this is the most ridiculous rule on the planet. And this is what small businesses are going through every single day. And the people in Washington, I don't care if they're Democrats, they're Republicans, independents, they have no clue what you as small business people are going through. It is incredibly ridiculous. And again, if you run E-Verify, the employee is not eligible to work in this country, you still can't terminate them. You've got to give them a period of time, which, by the way, could last as much as 6 months or even a year, for them to figure out why their Social Security number did not pass E-Verify. That's the United States of America, my friends. That's the reality. Meanwhile, our government has failed to secure the borders. We have this huge illegal immigration problem. And guess what? You've got to figure out who should be working here and who shouldn't. You've got to become a document expert. And if you make one little mistake, you could be like this little company down in Texas fined $26,000 by the United States government. What, my friends, are we coming to? Well, we are basically out of time here at BizRap Radio. That's it for this week's show. It's BizRap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. I'm your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me.